And Peter is really, really busy, so thank you for giving your time to us.
Very busy. Busier than we are. Which
no, it's an honor. Thanks for having me.
Okay. So we do start with shout out to the kids, any little people who've done amazing things this week. So I'm going to go first, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course.
So we had our very first Whack-A-Ball after school club in Holy Rosary. Yeah. And our year 6 little people came in and they were amazing. And they just did great things and they'd never played before. And they just smashed it. So we've done a little competition and we're going to see if we can improve every week. So like how many times we bounced the ball and stuff like that. And they were well up for it. So I'm dead excited. So thank you to all of them for being superstars.
Brilliant. Well, I've got a shout out for the kids at Rimrose Hope last week who did all the chatter fit with us in German.
Yes.
We had them running into hoops of different colours and Helen had them doing all these activities and we did it all in German for them because that's the language they do in their school.
Really?
In fact, I offered to bring a real German person there.
I wonder who you were thinking of. You know?
So that then they were like sick with excitement of for their language day. They're going to do the European Language Day in September, so that was cool. And also massive shout out to your Thomas, who's just come on in leaps and bounds in Spanish. We had lessons. I've worked him to death. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we've had an hour each day and he's done brilliantly. So he's got his exam. In fact, he had his exam today. Oh God, I didn't ring him to ask how it went. So I hope it went well. I'm sure it did. Yeah, so there we go.
Brilliant. Amazing. And for your little people?
Well, my daughter is at St. Austin Primary School, and they learn Spanish there as well. Yeah, but there's a girl in one of the older classes called Evie who has got a proud little badge that she's like a representative of the pupils. And every time she sees my daughter and my little one who's not even at school yet, she comes to them and asks them how they are and cuddles them. And it's just so cute and nice and so warm, and I just I'm very grateful that a big girl at the primary school would make my girl feel so comfortable, you know.
That's lovely, that, because when I was at St. Austin's I got slapped most days by the teacher.
You must have deserved it.
Miss O'Reilly. She's notorious, this woman, absolutely notorious. God rest her soul.
Now I have to say I was at McDonald's with my daughter. Sorry, don't judge me. But I tried to order a salad with chicken, and it took them 20 minutes to do. And they gave it to me in a 20 chicken nugget box because nobody must have ever ordered a salad with chicken at McDonald's apart from me. But my daughter, we were in the drive-thru, and then my daughter saw this lady with a litter picker, which I've got several of in my car because my daughters are that keen on litter picking.
Cool. How good.
And my daughter saw a lady litter picking from McDonald's, and I wound the window down, and she said, "Excuse me," and then she came over and she said, "You are making the world a better place." And that woman, she was like, she was nearly in tears. I mean, she was so happy.
She probably gets called all sorts.
Again, that's not like my experience when I was studying and also worked at McDonald's neither.
Was it different, yeah?
Very.
Well, you know.
You need like nice little people, you see. So shout out to your little girl.
You're making the world a better place. She definitely,
she's a good girl.
She wins up the prize.
She wins the prize. So well done. Well done. Success of the week for you personally. Something amazing that's happened to you this week. So I'm going to go first again. So how my life has changed. Friday night, I was home alone because Phil had gone to stay in Jack's, and we were going to go out, weren't we, on the Saturday, and then it changed to the Friday. Yeah. So I had a little chill, and I thought, all right. So I put the footy on, and Arsenal were playing. So I was watching that, and I thought, what should I do? And I thought, I know. I'd bought a Lego set, and I'd made Lego flowers.
Brilliant.
And it's the most amazing thing. Yeah. And I started at 7:00 and I started making these Lego flowers because I kill everything. So I've got these flowers made out of Lego. And then it was 11:00 and the time had gone. I'd watched the footy, I'd done my Lego. And then my dad has made this amazing vase, which I did share. And I put them in the vase and it just looked like dead cool. And I was like, I was all zen, I was all chill, I hadn't had a drink. I was like, what's happening to me? It's Friday night.
It's therapeutic though. Like I got our own in the bonsai one for his birthday. It's our own birthday today. He won't watch this, he'll be out in Italy having a good time.
Well, good. Hopefully you are, Ronan, and you're not listening.
He's on Facebook as well now. So so he'll be out in Italy. And his birthday's on the day of that is a national holiday in Italy to celebrate the independence of Italy. So there we go. So how fortunate is that? So he said he would always have his day off. if he works in it. So there we go.
So yeah.
That's
So that
very
what was
nice.
your success this week, San?
I've had a few successes. I'm
Good.
alive. I'm holding on to that. I'm alive. I've got glass in my toe as we speak. I keep soaking it, so I keep that's all
Soaking
right.
it is
There's
not
been a
going to
few
make the
things-
glass come
Did that
out.
happen at Hotel Anfield?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
It happened in my kitchen with Dettol. No, and the hairdresser today said there is a thing you can put to get splinters out. So I'll be getting
Sugar
that
and
from
soap.
Boots.
You mix sugar and soap together, stick it on a poultice, put it on your foot, and the glass will come out
A
tomorrow
hot pot.
morning.
Great. I'm going to
Yeah.
do that and wrap it up tonight because I'm going to be up for a good 5 hours late tonight doing translation work in Italian that I'm so stressed about. I've got too much work on, which is a nice complaint. It's because Ronan's on holiday and all of it, we've got a lot of interpreting work and translation work coming at the moment
Brilliant.
all this week, which is great. But
That's because Ronan's away.
I'll be glad when he's back on Friday morning back at work. So there we go. Yeah.
What's your success this week?
Well, first of all, it's Tuesday, right? So it's
Yeah.
not that long of a week
All
so
from
far.
last
but,
from last
from
Tuesday when we
last
did the last
Tuesday.
show.
Fair enough. We got the go-ahead to. I've been working on realizing a project whereby the Liverpool women's team
Yeah.
is going to get a very, very special recognition of its efforts over the last few seasons, being
Brilliant.
promoted into the women's
Yeah.
league, into the first division, and also maintaining that status, it looks. So
Yeah,
there's going
definitely.
to be something very special happening around here very, very soon, which
Oh,
I
exciting.
kind of can't talk about, but you will find out soon enough. And we got the go-ahead about it officially from the people that matter yesterday, which is
Fantastic.
really,
That's
really good news.
great
Yeah.
news.
And the last time we were in here was for the derby, the women's, and we went to Anfield.
Yes.
And Liverpool were playing Everton, and we were in here.
I have to say, my daughters, they were absolutely mesmerized
Yeah.
going to Anfield, 30-odd thousand
Yeah.
people. And my daughter was at this moment where she realized it's all women playing, it's
Yeah.
women referees, it's mostly kids and women in the
Yeah.
stands. And
Yeah.
they were just, and then they did this thing with the mobile phone when it got dark, didn't they? With
Yeah.
the light.
Yeah.
Like a concert basically,
Yeah.
and they were just my 3-year-old fell asleep at halftime because her little head had just fell off, but the older one, she was just singing the Liverpool.
Yeah.
Just a shame about the result because Everton
know.
wiped the floor with us.
They did
But,
that, but it was like on,
Yeah.
and we were right by the away end, so we were right by the Evertonians, weren't we? And I did sing me loudest, and I really had to go, but everyone was just looking at me as if to say, "Shut up!"
no, that really was a special moment, and it was only yesterday that my 5-year-old sent me a text. I don't really know how that worked, but I need to have a conversation about that. Asking me to organize a girls only football team for her to play in.
Oh, brilliant!
So I think she really wants to get involved.
There's a lot of our friends runs girls footy teams and everything, and they've done brilliantly.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Are they for little girls as well, though?
Yeah.
Of,
It's
like
Formby way.
age?
It's Formby way, but
Okay.
there'll be stuff in the South End.
Yeah, I
as
heard
well.
something about Jericho Lane, so I'm going to.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
making
there's
some
loads,
inquiries at the moment. Yeah, lovely.
Definitely. If
Lovely.
anyone's listening and they know any little people's 5-year-old girls teams, I don't know whether the girls and boys just play together when they're that age,
That's it, yeah.
or whether
No,
they separate
no.
them.
Not to my knowledge.
No, because most of the girls are better than the boys now at that age, because they take instructions better.
Oh well.
So, yeah. Anyway, so they were really, really good successes. So now we played this or that. So Sandra and I'll ask. So I'll ask you and Sandra a question. And she'll ask us a question.
Okay.
Well, should we just do 2 each because we
Yeah,
want to
go on
find out
then.
more?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go first.
Go for it.
All right. When you're on your holidays, and this will sort of like fit in, would you rather have a hotel or an apartment?
That depends on so many things. Go on, Peter. You go
Peter.
For
first.
me,
Yeah.
apartment.
Apartment. What
Yeah.
about you, Sam?
At the moment, I would really like to go away for a week and stay in a hotel and not think and walk downstairs, sunbathe, and go and get food in the hotel, which isn't normally me. But it's overall a hotel. But it just depends.
You can't have that. It's got to be a hotel or
I
an
hate
apartment.
the ones you pick are horrendous.
I'm stingy, so for me, it's a case of we organize the holiday made up of different bits that we self-organize, and the hotel gives us that freedom.
Yeah,
to
I do
to
that.
eat or not eat depends how
yeah.
we feel. But yeah, with the kids,
Yeah.
I think like an all-inclusive type would be easier. But I've
What
got
about an
young
apart
kids.
hotel?
A hotel I'm picking.
Okay, I'm picking apartment. Okay, you'll go.
Okay, Peter, Yorkshire or Lancashire? There's relevance to this.
I've lived in Yorkshire in my first 2 years in England, from 2005 till give or take 2008, before I came to Liverpool, and I had a good time there. I don't want to lie. Very special people, even more stingy than me. But no, I would never go back. Once you've been in Liverpool, you don't want to go anywhere else. But yeah, I would say Yorkshire.
Lancashire.
I like York, and
York's
not very
beautiful.
much. It's just in terms of getting a cup of tea, Lancashire. You know, like
So we're going by
Lancashire, yeah, no, by the hospitality of
the
people.
hospitality.
Yeah, Lancashire.
Cool. All right. Okay. Champions League game or Euro, as in like the Euros final. Would you rather go to the Champions League final or the Euro final?
Well, that very much depends who participates.
Yeah.
So
So
this
Germany are in the Euro finals and Liverpool are in the Champions League.
So I've got two choices now. I either say what's popular,
You can
or
know.
I say
you
what's
say
the
what's true.
truth,
Say
you
what's
know.
true. Yeah.
Unlike the Scousers, who obviously have got a very specific relationship with the English national team for good
Yeah.
reasons, as
Yeah.
Jurgen Klopp tried to explain to people, very politically correct. Do
He
your
did.
research, and then you might understand why Scousers are not that excited about England, about the
Yeah.
the football team. In Germany, it's a bit different.
Okay. So let's go Bayern. Let's go Bayern Munich.
Oh, I hate Bayern Munich.
Oh, do
so
you?
that's easy. I'm a Dortmund supporter.
Oh, let's
so
go Dortmund
I'm
then.
Dortmund and Liverpool. So no, it's I think I have to say the hardest for me was Dortmund played away here in the Europa League at Liverpool, and it looked like Dortmund is going to go through 3-1, and then in the last minute, Dejan Lovren scored that header. And I was in the Liverpool end, and it was, my heart was ripping in two, because I was very excited for Liverpool. And I loved the fact that lots of people in wheelchairs suddenly jumped up into the air, the wonder of Anfield and the miracle of Anfield and all of that. But it was tough for me to see, because when I was a little boy in the working class sort of town near Dortmund, where I'm from, like Dortmund, I went to the training ground, and so you've got that loyalty. But okay, so Germany in a Euro final or Liverpool. These days, it is the truth. It's Liverpool now, because I've been to Paris, and although in the end that was a bit of a, pardon me, a bit of a shit show, so to speak. But
sorry, Uncle Ron.
Apologies, Ron. Apologies. But it was phenomenal until it wasn't.
Yeah.
Liverpool.
Liverpool. Yeah.
Champions League,
Champions League,
definitely.
yeah.
If Liverpool are participating, if not the Euros, because I love all the international stuff.
Well, if City gets to the Champions League final, then tickets should be dirt cheap, shouldn't they?
They
Because
will.
they can't get more than 250 people out there.
They couldn't get it full on there.
So it might be a cheaper Istanbul holiday on the cards in this instance.
Cool. Go on, San, your go. Last one.
I thought that was that. We've done
No, that was
two.
mine. You've only done one.
Did I? Oh, Yorkshire. Okay, sorry everyone. Back in the room. Okay. Would you prefer to go on a world cruise or fly the other side of the world?
Yeah, I have to confess, I'm not a massive holiday person. Because I love what I do for a living, it doesn't really feel like work to me.
Yeah.
Which means it looks like a terrible work-life balance to some people, while I actually really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And although I seem stressed sometimes, because I enjoy it, so my need for holiday is limited. So I would say flying, so I get there quick
and back
and then see everything, and then feel like, tick that off the list. Let's go back and
I agree.
do some good things.
Yeah. I'd fly.
I'm exactly the same. Yeah. And
But ask me again once I'm 65. So maybe 55. Maybe I will feel a bit more relaxed by then. But
I'd fly. Yeah.
Maybe
Cool.
I'd cruise for a week, but that's it. I wouldn't do around the world in a million years.
I'd like to do around the world just to get off and see mad places that you wouldn't normally go to, but I don't think I could be at sea for that long. I think I'd get bored.
Oh, they have loads for you. It's amazing on the ships. They have loads.
Do you have internet signal on the ship?
You've got internet. You've got
sound. I
yoga.
can maybe do it then,
You've got a gym.
I can work from the cabin.
I can sit in the cabin, that miserable on my laptop.
It's true. I do a Spanish course on a Thursday at 8 a.m, and one of the guys said to me, Sandra, and I go, oh, I love it. It's like the best start of my day ever, because it's only 50 minutes. We do like an hour nearly and they have coffee and cake, whatever, and then we go. It's just lovely. If you love
definitely.
what you do, it's great.
Yeah, 100%. So my Uncle Ron says you've picked the right location. Whose round is it next? There you go.
Well, I guess it's on me that round.
There you go.
Fine.
Well done. Thanks, Uncle Ron. And Jan Railton says evening, ladies.
Evening,
so
Jan.
evening back to Jan and to Peter as well. So we're going to hand it over to. I'm going to hand it over to you, Sandra, to introduce Peter.
Okay, so I'm absolutely delighted because I've been trying to get Peter on the show for a while. So this is the wonderful Peter Schriewersmann, who is a very successful entrepreneur, extremely philanthropic, supports lots of charities in the area, and had an interesting way that he came to Liverpool, really. So I'd love you to share your story with everyone, why you're here, why has a German made his life here, and how old you were when you came over, and how come you were in Yorkshire first, and how come you've settled here, and then about the various businesses you have, etc., if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. I mean, first of all, I think success is relative, right? I mean, I love what I do, and we are building something bit by bit that's becoming what we think it can be, but it's a journey. And particularly around Hotel Anfield, we bought it 1 month before the global pandemic. So we had 3 games and we were shut down. Back then my wife had this moment before we bought it saying that she had this dream and God told her I shouldn't do it. She's much more Catholic than I am, albeit I was an altar boy until I came to England, but I'll come to that in a minute. Though that seems a long time ago now, to be honest. But and I said, nah, it'll be sound. Hey! And it wasn't.
And it is.
But now it is. But now when you get someone on a match, they come into you and saying, you're rolling in it, La, you're rolling in it. And it's like, whoa, you should see the bounce back loans, that are literally like coming out every month. So success is relative. But okay, going back. See, I come from a small town in Germany, not far from Dortmund, called Lippstadt, and it's 70,000 people. It's lovely. The world is still all right. Nice and clean, everything in neat little boxes, and Germans being Germans, quite focused and forgetting to live a little bit, So for me, I always felt like there's like two times per year. It's called Schützenfest, which Germans will know. It's a shooting festival where the village comes together, and there's a wooden bird, basically a wooden bird in this square thing, and then you get like a gun which you can't shoot anyway. You can just shoot towards the bird, just move it a tiny bit, and then everybody in the village gets to have a shot. And if you take the bird down, you're the king of the village for 1 year. But that means you have to buy loads of drinks, and it costs you somewhere between 20 and 30 grand for the year. So it's a big thing. So if you're like a bit pissed and you accidentally take it down, you are a bit snookered, know. But anyway, so that weekend, and then there's something. Well, Carnival.
Hang on a minute. Did you shoot the birds?
No, I'm not.
Emigrated.
Even when. Yeah, I'm stingy. You're right. No. It's just, and then the other one is Carnival. Like Carnival is big where I come from, and they are two things where it nearly feels like the Germans, they work along, they do what needs to be done, and quite serious. But then twice a year they like
go crazy,
switch the phone off, and like 3 days of absolute escalation. But then on Monday they are back in the office typing away. And for me, I don't know, but I always had the feeling that as much as I love my hometown and so many people, obviously my entire family, everybody is there, but it's just not right for me. I always felt like much more like I want to enjoy.
Shoot birds everywhere.
No, I don't need to just shoot birds. No,
you just wanted something else.
I nearly said something inappropriate. We'll just move on. It's life. Yeah, that's what happens. But no, I just always felt like that wasn't quite right. So when I had the opportunity at 19, as part of my studies, to do a 1 month work placement for a big German company in Yorkshire, in Beverley. And funny enough,
Beverley
people from
Hull,
Beverley always say it's near York. They never admit it's actually near Hull, because Hull is a bit,
on top of Hull.
Hull is a bit special, let's say. But there you go. Yeah, that's very polite, Sandra. All. And so the 1 month ended up being a 14-year career. So that company really looked after me. I finished my studies while I was still there. So 3 months working, 3 months studying. And it was like a gradual. It wasn't like Peter emigrates. It was a very gradual Liverpool development. And then the company offered me my first proper contract in 2007 or 8. And then they said, you want to move to Liverpool? And I never knew really about Liverpool. I know about Liverpool from a football sense, Beatles, all this sort of usual stuff. But I've never actually been. But I just said yes, because I was bored shitless. Sorry, Ron, in Yorkshire. And also, I heard good things about Liverpool. And I arrived in 2008 in October, and it was European Capital of Culture.
Yeah.
So on the day when I arrived, there were fireworks, which felt funny for me to arrive. And thank you very much. And I just felt great from the start. I moved into the roadwalks area, which is an area where I have got, I play my little role in a not pro bono role to move the area on and help things for many, many, many years. Because I fell in love with it, and then I fell in love with the people, because the Scousers, they enjoy their lives as well. You know, sometimes a little bit too much, but that's a different story.
Only get one go on the planet.
100%. And my first few years were mainly in Bootle, on Stanley Road, corner Balliol Road. There was a building called Balliol House, which was demolished later. And I worked there, and the Merton House. And it was the Cat and Fiddle on Stanley Road, and Merton were my locals on a Friday. And
amazing.
It was, I mean, first I had to understand what the people were actually saying to me, because it was yet another English, basically, to learn. But it was fantastic. The company really looked after me. I worked my absolute socks off for many, many, many years for them. And then eventually, as I sort of progressed to the company to a level where our headquarter of all places in Slough, I became the director of that in 2016, something like that. But I started to just get a bit bored. I had a great management team, and I've been in the same kind of environment, and I felt just like I need a challenge. So my now business partner and I bought a property on San Domingo Vale around the corner here, and refurbished it, and gave it to the veterans to live in, together with the Veterans HQ on Breck Road.
Amazing.
Well done, Breck Road. And that's how it all sort of started slowly. So I caught the bug to do something that, in all honesty, that has more purpose for me, you know. Money-wise, it's debatable. My career was going really well, you know. There's many moments, particularly when COVID hit, where I thought, like, what did I do? I had the safest job and such a good salary, and then you give it all up. But then even during COVID, some of the events we had here at the hotel, which I definitely couldn't post on social media about, because we might or might not have pushed the boundaries a little. But it was just memorable, and it stays with me now, and it really gives me like a much more satisfaction. And then the rest with the money and success, that I reckon that will come as time progresses.
100% it will. 100%. And if you work really hard, as you do, you will be repaid, won't you, massively?
I mean, Hotel Anfield is only part of the portfolio of businesses that we are building. We got the Onyx Real Estate Agency. You might start to see the boards, particularly commercial property.
We've seen loads,
all we do is look at commercial property constantly. We've had this conversation.
Oh, yeah, we did,
So it's all we do. So we see the boards everywhere.
And my daughter does, and I love it when we drive along. She's like, "Oh, Daddy's work," and she points at it, and I'm like, "That's
perfect.
like." I would have never had that feeling ever in the job I had before.
No.
And it was a great company to work for. They made me who I am in so many ways. And they looked after me, and I'm eternally grateful. But in terms of purpose, like that sort of why you do what you do.
Which is everything.
Which is a lot, you know. And then with a facility like this, and our serviced accommodation offering Happy Days, which is nearly 100 apartments in city centre. That gives us then a platform to do other things which are not financial, but they are just sort of the right thing.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll come to it.
And you've got you've just got a new place, haven't you, that you've been working on for some time?
Yeah, that's true, on Stanley Street, called Boutique 56. Yeah, so that's been a long process.
And
is
that a hotel, or is that a part?
It's a hotel, and a couple of the rooms have kitchenettes. But really, it's a hotel with bigger rooms.
So you've got hotel and apartments as well in other places, and
all around there. On Matthew Street, Lord Street, Stanley Street, Queen Avenue, which is one of my favorites, the little avenue between Dare Street and Castle Street, where you've got Queens.
What's it called? I know where you mean.
The wine shop in there.
Yeah, it's gorgeous down there.
Yeah, it's lovely.
That's beautiful down there.
So we are like we're still recovering from because early in our development as a business, you might remember when the car park was on fire at the docks. All the apartments we had at the time were in Monarch's Quay, which is the building that is built right next to it. So I'm in Poland for New Year's Eve, and my business partner is in Wales, and our business effectively goes up in flames. And then we start over in another block around Duke Street, and it develops nicely, and then COVID comes. And you just kind of feel like, you know, if I fail because of a bad decision, and I don't mind making decisions, and some turn out to be good and some turn out to be less good.
Learnings.
But learnings, yeah, exactly. But if it's your decision, I can live with it. But if it's something that affects your business,
it's external.
Borderline terminally, which COVID was for us as a group. Very close for many businesses.
For everybody.
I remember emailing like all the people in the council for the grants and when is the grant coming and those things. And it just makes you feel like, you know, that's so frustrating, isn't it? You know, in a time when we all had our little demons to fight anyway, being locked away in a house or whatever it was. But look, I can laugh about it now, but
I think
cost of living crisis is my next problem now.
A lot of people in business have been through the same thing, and I think even sort of last year about September time, we were saying, I just sort of felt I was reeling from it, like what happened, you know. And Helen was on a course and she said there's a lot of people on the course who are the same. They're just like, what happened? You're sort of in shock because it's been so difficult for business, you know, to keep going. And then there were people who lost their jobs because of that, and you know, it's been hard for so many people, but it's moving forward now, isn't it? Which we are doing now, hopefully.
I mean, it's I know it's depending on one's circumstance, it's easier said than done. But I always say you cannot drive forwards if you keep looking in the rear mirror. And there is a little bit of that going on in Liverpool as a whole as well when it comes to some of Liverpool's history. And I very specifically exclude topics like Hillsborough just for the avoidance of doubt, because that very much is an absolute scandal how us Scousers and adopted Scousers, so to speak, were treated in the wake of that. But there's a lot of topics where people end up procrastinating and thinking about the past so long that it prevents you from moving forward.
You're absolutely right. And we had Angie Redhead. We were in St George's Hall. We've been in all the best places. We went to St George's Hall last week, and now we're here, obviously. And we had Angie Redhead on. And Angie Redhead, she's probably a couple of years younger than me. And I made a reference to something about the 80s. And she just dealt with it brilliantly, and she said about moving forward, and I thought, and sort of the 60s, my auntie and uncle would say how great it was, and I thought, okay, we need to see that as like it was a very long blip, but if we look at it that way and say, you know, we're moving forward and don't, it's massively more productive.
And we are, and I have to say, sometimes being not from here gives you the opportunity, or for the people on this on the show that have lived abroad, it gives you a slightly different perspective. You get to compare a little bit more certain elements, and Liverpool's potential is absolutely phenomenal. Some of the things, Manchester is years and years and years ahead, and it sometimes feels like the gap is getting bigger, not smaller. But there's an awful lot about Liverpool, including some of the recent infrastructure improvements on the trains and the buses, the fiber rollout in the city centre, which is going on unbeknown to many people, but really, really relevant, and it's very important to business and to people to move away from the copper kind of crap that there was in the past. There's an awful lot going on that should make us, and we got the Mersey, and we got the two clubs, and plus Tranmere, and we got a lot of things, musical and cultural history that nobody can take away from us that we have that others don't.
And we've got Eurovision coming, Peter, which is the best thing ever in the history of the world.
It literally solves all of our problems.
Life's problems, everybody in life doesn't have any because you're for
a fortnight. I'm very excited about it. I was very sad, obviously, because I didn't get tickets on any attempt.
We're still looking for a ticket, so anyone gets a ticket.
There were
Sandra's
12 tickets for £45,000 with
I've seen
VIP
it, yeah.
hospitality.
That's all right.
That was still available.
Was it?
But I did, so I decided not to
Did
go
you?
for that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
You know, as an owner of Hotel Anfield, you know, we are rolling in it, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I bought 2 boxes of the.
Oh,
No, we're
imagine
not
it.
going either.
No, I
but,
was very, very kindly offered for one of the I was offered something for the semi-final for £500 from a
We're going the
value
Pier Head.
broker. Well, I'm very excited. We've got tickets for the Pier Head,
Which will be
and
better.
Yeah,
It'll be
I
better
agree.
than
the
being in there.
Venga boys are playing.
Exactly.
and the week.
Oh, that reminds me of my youth.
I know.
That's not. It's not a good thing in this
And
instance.
never mind that. And on Sunday, next Sunday, a week Sunday, we've got tickets which were free for the one at St George's Hall, and
National Lottery
outside it's the National Lottery big party, whatever. But the Lightning Seeds are on, and there's loads,
Nice.
and the Real Thing, and there's loads of local bands as well. So I'm very excited about everything.
Very, very
So
nice.
we're just gonna I'm just dead. The next fortnight's just gonna be hysterical.
Well, on the actual evening of Eurovision, we are going to have the Ukrainian community here at Hotel Anfield.
Oh,
so
well, I
they are
wanted to
going to
ask you
provide
about that.
Ukrainian music until Eurovision starts, and then it'll be televised. There's going to be free food. And just for the avoidance of doubt, it's not just for the Ukrainians, it's anybody is welcome to come. So we are going to cater. So there's going to be a selection of Ukrainian food and other international foods, Ukrainian themed decoration, Ukrainian dance, Ukrainian pop music before Eurovision starts. And it's just going to be free of charge here from 6:30. So it'll be on our socials in the next day or two.
Well, I think that's fantastic. We'll share everything about your business and what you're doing on our page, as well as we do with all the guests after they've been
That's
on the show.
Kind.
I wanted you to speak about the work you've been doing with the Ukrainians, because it's funny how paths cross, isn't it? And you do a lot of work with the Big Help Project.
Yeah.
And you've supported them with a community centre, haven't you?
The Big Help Project have done an awful lot for Taras and the whole Ukrainian community. So just a bit of a recap. The organization that represents the Ukrainian interests in the UK is called AUGB, the Association of Ukrainians to Great Britain, which was incorporated in 1946, right after the Second World War. A German mentioning the war, you know, who would have thought? Sorry, Ron.
Keep going, Peter. It's fine.
But we move on. But there is lots of chapters all over the UK, but Liverpool didn't have a branch. But last June, they established a branch for Liverpool.
Right.
And I came across a lot of amazing people, Darka, Zenya, Ludmila, and Taras, the priest who also is a professor at Liverpool Hope University. And I came across him because I went to a Eurovision event, the first one where all the great and the good, all the movers and shakers were telling us normal people what it's all about in the exhibition center. And Taras got up and they gave him a standing ovation on behalf of his people. And I thought, I need to meet that man.
Yeah.
So I went straight to him after the event, gave him my card, and I said, I think I'm very passionate about it, but I think I've got, we all have got our networks and platforms that we can use to do good things. And I think we have to. It's not you should, it's like you really have to, because there's a lot of need. And I think individually we can all, if it's the food banks or if it's the whatever it is, we all have our thing. Yeah. And for me, that sounds terrible now when I say at the moment. I mean at the moment, because I very much hope that the war's over one day and we can talk about rebuilding and the Ukrainians can go about their lives again. Yeah. But for now, and already last year when I raised money for 2 ambulances, which was exciting, which one of them I drove myself and the other one my father to Ukraine just over a year ago.
Hang on. You raised money for 2 ambulances. You drove one from here to Ukraine.
From Frankfurt, strictly speaking. But I flew from here to Düsseldorf, drove to Frankfurt, bought the 2 ambulances on the spot, and then drove them from there via Dresden and Wrocław and Krakow to Medica, which is a border point. And then we drove over the border, and then we donated them. One went to Odessa and one to near Lviv.
So and how did you and your dad get back?
There we had. I mean, there was like a delegation of 10, 12 people there waiting, and some of them were like in a like in a Cold War movie, like fixers that were just coming to you, and I need this now, and you got to come here, and we were there for hours. Yeah. And I had this plan because Liverpool was playing Benfica, and I thought if we are quick with this, I'm a quick selfie, and back to Krakow, and then sit there because I've never been to Krakow, and I was and now I know it's beautiful, and I expect it to be beautiful, but we ended up being at this border point, and then in Ukraine for until 1 a.m. and then there's a 2-hour drive to Krakow in a car of one of these fixers who drove us back. Wow. And by the time we were in Krakow, it was 3 a.m. and our plane was going at 7, so we had to be up at 5:30, and it was
straight to the airport.
It was crazy. But anyway, I was passionate about it, and Taras just before Christmas said to me, what the Ukrainians would really like is a place for them to congregate and to have meetings and talk about plan things and have a toilet and a kitchen. And so with my Onyx real estate commercial hat on and my business partner Dan and Alan, we went out in our network and found a landlord that had a unit on Laurel Road between Ash Lane and Prescott Road. And it happens to be the parallel road to where San Sebastian is, the Catholic church, which the Ukrainians are now using for their mass. So it's a complete coincidence. And,
or is it? It's meant to be.
Or not. And we've refurbished the place, new boiler, installed the internet. Today we cleaned everything outside, signage, everything, and it gets opened on Saturday.
Oh, amazing.
Isn't that brilliant?
And they get it free of charge.
That's fantastic, because we've had Fran Darcy on here from the Big Help.
Fran is one of life's good guys, good ladies.
She's just lovely.
And she works for the Big Help group for Peter with another colleague, Anna, a Ukrainian lady. And very, it's inspiring the amount of resources that they pool to support. But I'm involved in a network group that meets at Strawberry Fields as well with the Salvation Army there. And there's ladies from the Rotary Club come in, and people from PISK, which is a Polish community group from Wrexham, who have sent a tremendous 50 or more trucks of goods from Wrexham.
At the time,
Anna, who runs it, is a force of nature, and what they accomplish in numbers and in scale is phenomenal. Very inspiring.
This is what our program's about here. Our guests are ordinary people doing extraordinary things to inspire community, aren't they, and positivity,
to inspire others, isn't it? Somebody looking and seeing what you've done, and they might be able to do a little something, or and we're not asking for people to go out and do grand gestures, but if you can do a little something and everybody does a little something, then the world is just a better place.
That's exactly it. Even if it's a cake bake sale, raise a bit of money and pays the bills at that center for another month or whatever it might
or
be.
Or even to the point like or
volunteer some time.
100%.
Exactly. Well, Fran wanted people to do bucket collections in town. We're in a networking group that she's in, and she was asking about bucket, and it's just given an hour if you can. It's just, if you've got nothing to give, you can help that way maybe, or don't throw your cups in the bin that you don't want, give them to the charity shop.
And you see, when I raised money for the ambulances back then, and that was only a few months really after the war started, but it was already at a phase where the initial wave of donations had sort of subsided. And also the effect of the cost of living crisis started to kick in. So us Scousers, and I say that deliberately, we look after our own, right? And that is, and so what I came across very often, very respectfully, and I respect it back, is comments like, look, I really appreciate you what you do for Ukraine, but we do have to look after our own problems too, and that means people using food banks more than ever. And I totally understand that. I think, and this is what you are saying is absolutely right. If everybody can do a little bit, then we've got enough resource and enough man and woman power and money to support food banks, as well as
to look after everything.
People that have been made refugees through no fault of their own. So I think we can do everything as Scousers, really, because we're pretty bloody great.
You also do work as well. You've done or have done work with some other guests we've had on the show from an hour. Well, we've had people we've had Leslie from Strawberry Fields on, who's moved on now. We've had Jill and Kev from An Hour for Others on as well, and you've done some
just
work
fabulous,
with them.
aren't they?
Yeah,
altruistic. Yeah,
altruistic.
Jill and Kev. When I first I heard
and Susie came
and Susie
and Susie.
I heard Kevin speak years ago when An Hour for Others was. I mean, it's still grassroots in many ways, but they are now a charity. They've matured their network of supporters. I mean, what they accomplish and the value they create is absolutely bloody brilliant. But at the time, they didn't even have the center down in Anfield yet. Never mind the one in Tobruk where they are now. So Tobruk. Yeah, sorry.
Tobruk.
Is that how you say it?
No, British Airways.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. So at that time when I met Kevin, I saw him pitch his idea to something called Liverpool Soup on Tyburn Street in the Tempest.
It's in the Leaf now. It's in Leaf on Bowl Street.
I was just inspired because like this Kevin, like myself, I heard Kevin speak in a different environment recently where he kind of picked up the sense that a lot of people talk about, well, this isn't right and this isn't right and this isn't right. And Kevin says, granted, it's not right, but it's not enough for us to just point out what's not right. We need to make plans to push things forward. And as we said like 10 minutes ago, that's my, I don't know, I wouldn't call it a mantra, but it's like that's what I do. What I love is to push things forward and progress things. And Kevin is like that as well. And Jill in the background, obviously, you don't want to mess with Jill. That's you'll regret that. Hey, hi, Jill. Be nice to me. No, they are a fantastic team. They've done so well, and that's such a Scouse success story. If you could package An Hour for Other up and transfer it to other places in the UK. Other working class, maybe sort of environments across the north, they would all benefit from more Kevins and Jills.
Yeah, because it's about community cohesion, isn't it? And looking after each other and helping each other. But I think where they're on another level is Kevin does the courses with the kids and the young people to sort of change their outlook at quite a young age so that they go on and be community ambassadors and have that ethos, when they're young. So I love that.
I mean, we have got a lot to do as well with boxing clubs like Kirkdale around here. And obviously, and they are connected strongly to the Weapons Down, Gloves Up campaign, which in itself is very, very positive and very popular. And again, the idea there is also ultimately to give the kids something to do, channel their anger and their energy into the boxing bag and give them guidance while at it. There's a lot of people involved there that know how the streets look, and they've had their fair share of trouble maybe when they were younger themselves. They can inspire them.
I think there's loads of different boxing clubs, and the good they do in the city is incredible. And you were saying about Ukrainians, so I did some voluntary work last summer teaching English to some children who were starting school, and you might have met one of the mums, Yana, and her boy Artem, Artem, he came to help us. We took him to this job we did, and he just loved it and everything. Anyway, Artem, he started boxing straight away because he was into boxing in Ukraine, and obviously they've got great role models over there. And he goes to boxing 3 nights a week, and he just hams it, and he's done something. And they've just, these guys in the boxing club have just looked after him so much, because him and his brother, they won't mind me saying, came out on their own in the journey. It was just horrendous, and they were absolutely, you can see they're just traumatized by what happened. And this has been a constant. So Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and he's like, this what? And she's saying, I'm terribly sorry, Sandra, he's worried he'll be late for boxing. And so I drove them in the car, and because it's his absolute priority.
Well, my business partner took me boxing a few years ago once.
Once.
And it once.
That'd have been me.
Well, that's the end
Helen's
of that
done
story.
Boxing. Helen did boxing for Cash for Kids.
I did box on the docks.
I mean, I'm not a quitter, so I worked hard. But I have to say, by the time we went outside to take these tractor wheels and lift them up and push them over, mine was like a Ford Fiesta wheel by then, like I couldn't handle anymore. And then I sat on public transport on the Mersey Rail back from Bootle Way back into the city. And already I could hardly lift my mobile phone. I was like sat there, I felt like a monkey, my arms were just dangling. I was like, you know what? I think I'm all right, I really need that time to focus on my daughters, like whatever excuse.
I loved the training side of it. Getting in the ring was the hardest bit for me. was yeah.
Shocking.
We did it for
absolutely
it was
shocking.
Box on the Docks, wasn't it, for Radio
Carol
City,
Clare,
Cash
yeah.
for Kids, yeah.
Was it like a white collar thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, wow. Fair play to you.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
it was that's the hardest thing I've ever done. And they said to me, you'll use all of your adrenaline walking, because you had to walk in and the songs were playing. There was like 400 people there, and you had to get into the room. And I remember my mouth just gluing like to me mouth guard, and I was like, and the corner man, they said the only voice you'll hear in all of this is your corner man. And I was thinking, what a load of rubbish. Anyway, it's the only voice that you hear. And then we were in the first round, and I was boxing. I was thinking, oh, I think that bell's broke. I think that bell's broke. And I was thinking, just ring the bell, will you? Ring the bell. And the first, we did 3 2-minute rounds, so 2 minutes, and I thought I'd been in there about half an hour, and I was thinking, mate, just ring that bell, will you? Ring that bell. And then the second round, they're on. It's all right. It was good. And you know, the girl I was fighting against was lovely. We it was
lovely,
good.
as in she let you beat her up, basically.
No, so I couldn't hit somebody because they hadn't done anything to me, so I really struggled with hitting somebody. So I was like,
I think you kind of got it a bit wrong with the whole concept of boxing.
And
you
she
know?
was only 26 and she was gorgeous. And I thought, if I happen to catch her and break her nose or do something to her lip, I was thinking, oh, this is like, and then she come out and she hit me, and I thought, right, okay, let's go.
No.
And that's like Tyson says, isn't it? You've got a game plan until you get hit in the face. And it's like, yeah, you have, you know.
That's a good saying. I mean, I've only ever been hit in the face once, and literally I landed on the floor, and that was it. The fight was over.
Yeah.
I tried to talk my way out of confrontation.
A smile is worth everything.
And then run. You know, it used to be
smile
quite
and run.
fast.
I'm the same. Smile and run. Uncle Ron says a concert by Gary Williams at the Philharmonic Hall is vastly superior to any Eurovision song competition.
Uncle Ron, that's terrible. We'll do lives from the gigs, and I'll send them to you.
So he'll be
little
delighted.
messages. So funny.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing all your story. What's the future? What have you got planned? I know we've got the top secret
Moving
surprise.
Forward. I know the top secret surprise that we
so
can't
we won't.
reveal.
But that when that's shared.
That happened to us last week as well. There was a big reveal that we couldn't reveal.
I know.
Well, we'll reveal it soon enough. You know, it's going to be before the end of the season. It's going to be very, very visible.
Brilliant.
You know,
amazing.
So it'll involve a well-known artist, and I can't say anymore. But there you go.
Exclusive.
Exclusive, sort of, in a way.
What's next? You know.
What's next?
It's
how can we support you? What can people do to get involved?
Do to help you in what you do and your vision?
I mean, look, you said it earlier. I think if people use whatever little bit of energy, time, platform, connections they have to raise money, put a bit of effort into whatever local cause they feel passionate about. If that happens to be the Ukrainians and wanting to reach out to them and help a little bit, so be it. But it can be anything really, and I just love people getting involved really and doing things. And generally, I think I would love us Scousers to be a bit more optimistic about Liverpool
100%.
as a whole, you know,
100%.
because I know certain scandals in the city sometimes make it like weigh you down and make you feel like the city will never recover from certain.
You've got to keep moving forward, and curveballs come. You keep going forward.
And I must say, like, I'm not a cheerleader for everybody, and and I don't get paid by the council, but there's an awful lot of people, not just in Cunard, but also like just around the city that are great ambassadors for the city in different roles. And they work together quite constructively and quite well, and they maneuver through the bureaucracy and the hurdles and I know because I'm involved in our little area, which is the rope walks with our friends from the Baltic and Chinatown. And the people from the BIT and Marketing Liverpool and you name it. And there's an awful lot of people that do a lot. And I think it's going in the right direction. I really, really am. In terms of what's next, I mean, at Hotel Anfield, I'm trying to win over a well-known ex-player to do a podcast, funnily enough. Hence me asking what system you use. Because,
we can go through that. That's cool.
Yeah, I got inspired by our neighbors, Hotel Tia. They've got one that they do with David Fairclough. And,
we've had Ronnie on the show, you know that, Rangahilda.
I've been on their podcast. I mean, we are good. I don't believe in competition in that sense.
There's enough people for everybody.
We got a WhatsApp group, in fact, for the whole whole of Anfield
Yeah.
Road, all the traders,
Well, I
including
saw that you're
Epstein
involved
and
in that.
Isla,
Yeah.
because that's the only way, you know. If Anfield Road, which was a very passionate point of mine a while ago, that before I've ever come to Liverpool, I knew Penny Lane and Anfield Road, but I've never been. And then I go to both, and both were a little bit crap, to be honest. Both were just a bit dirty and a bit like, just like, is this it?
Such
type
iconic
scenario.
names, aren't they, with such
and you just
history,
think
and then you
like,
go, oh, is that it?
This can't be it, you know. And I made that point just after COVID, and that's when Joanne Anderson, our departing mayor, and Chris Brown challenged me in a nice way to write a proposal with costs. And so we raised £20,000 to do things, of which this initiative that I can't reveal is part of.
Oh,
perfect.
So there's still some tangible things and improvements, and I think a lot of those things are like on the radar, like to just make things better, do a bit. I need a little bit of a break, to be honest. You know, the last few months have been worrying. January was terrible for us as a business. Liverpool not doing well doesn't help.
Football,
so really, it's good if we have got a bit of stability for a few months, get through the summer, and focus on a few non-commercial topics, not money making, just make things better.
And can people come here? Like, do you do when there is no football? Do you have like people come for food or stuff like that?
We got events on that are open to the public. Obviously, football goes without saying. Albeit away games not as busy naturally as home games. But we are. I think at the moment we don't do food. Our neighbors do food on certain days. Very nice food as well. But we got selected events on for people that you will see on our social media that you can engage with.
And
so that's what we'll do. We'll share.
You can hire the
space. I mean, we're set in the marquee at the back, and then gorgeous. Out the back even
and there's a lovely garden.
There's another garden towards the hotel, but also at the very back with the view over Stanley Park. We got a license for people to get married here. So we're on that official register on the council's
they'll
website.
Be queuing up at my door now for that.
Maybe not your door, maybe here.
Hopefully my door, you know. But no, we had a few weddings here too, and so those kind of things. It's quite wakes, birthdays, various occasions. You know, it holds 200 people in this space, and then outside more. We very soon, actually, that's what I'm very passionate about, is the Owen McVeigh Foundation.
Yes.
Brilliant. So Mark is recovering from a little bit of a health situation, but what they do for people that are either going or have gone through like terrible trauma around kids and cancer and other illnesses is absolutely amazing. And they have chosen Hotel Anfield to do their annual ball.
Oh, wow.
And there's going to be a very, 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 very special guest who I'm not allowed to talk about, but I know
you're
who it
so
is.
good at this game.
It kills me, you know.
There's a lot of cool people involved with the Owen McVeigh Foundation.
I mean, I over the years, as I chipped away at the whole Liverpool Football Club ecosystem, you know, like your Spirit of Shankly's, and then the obviously the women's team, the supporter club to do with that, the Owen McVeigh Foundation, the Spy on Cop, kind of more the fan club, the Disability Club, the Hillsborough Survivors Alliance. I mean, there is so many passionate people about Liverpool Football Club, but also doing their thing for their respective communities. And I mean, where the Owen McVeigh Foundation is now featuring in that, it's like 100% top 5 in terms of visibility and presence. And it's for them to choose us is actually an honor. And the event, they've sold more than 300 tickets already.
Brilliant.
I mean, I start to worry about where we are going to put all these people, but I think it's just going to be a fabulous thing.
Yeah, it will. Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing, and we wish you every success in the future, but we haven't finished yet. Okay.
Well, thanks.
So we have a red face moment. Something slightly embarrassing that's happened. Sandra has loads. We're all right.
My week.
Okay. So I'm going to let Sandra go first.
Oh, mine is stupid. Have you got 2? Loads. Oh, I've probably got 9. So I've worn this shirt for a reason today. So I bought this top online and I thought, that's a bargain, isn't it?
For those who aren't,
so people who are listening on the podcast, I've taken off my jacket.
Yeah, I know. I'm starting to get worried. You know?
It's meant to be a size 14 and it's a 24 and I've not looked properly. So You can fit another pair. It's just hilarious.
Have you just improvised there?
Look,
I mean, I'm not. Wow,
And it just
yeah.
falls, I'm wearing it. I don't care. But
It's just a loose fitting top.
It's ridiculous.
I know. It's like if it gets windy, you might just want to yeah.
So that's my first one.
You'll be safe on a plane.
Oh, I've just dropped a glass in ours. I've been dropping everything all week because I think I've been rushing everywhere, doing everything. Stood on glass as I normally do. My mum goes ballistic. Why don't you wear slippers? So I've got a little shard of still in my toe as we speak. Anyway, it is moving, and but my mum goes, "Why don't you go to A&E?" And I went, "I can't after the needle incident." And I go, "They'll think I've got Munchausen." So she goes, "What do you mean?" Well, and I said, "Remember?" And she goes, "That was years ago." And 15 years ago, I stood on a needle, and I thought I'd stood on a pin. And I was like, God, it's still killing. And my husband was working away at the time. And then I had to pick him up, and my foot was, I was working the next day. I was interpreting, and I had to go up these stairs. I remembered in this place to interpret. And the lady goes, "Are you all right?" I said, "Oh, yeah, I just hurt my foot a bit, stood on a pin yesterday." And I thought she must think I'm a wimp, but it was really... Anyway, the next morning, so like 48 hours, I woke up, my foot was like that. And I had to pick Jed up at the dock, my husband up at the docks from his trip. So I went down to collect him. And I said, "I'm sorry, could you drive?" And he went, "Sandra, I've just driven back from Plymouth or somewhere like that." And I said, "I know, I'm really sorry, but I can't." So we swapped over. Anyway, then the next morning I said to my mum, "I'm going to have to go to A&E and use something." I went to the walk-in, and they x-rayed my foot, and there's a needle right in it, stuck on the bone. I was in Arrow Park that day, general anaesthetic, and they had to remove it. And the surgeon goes, before they put me under anaesthetic, he said, "I might be able to," and I said, "No, I know you can do this. I trust you with your capability. You have to get this needle out because I have a small child," whatever. And he must have just gone, "Oh my God!" Like,
stick that on it.
Yeah. Anyway, and they did it, and I said, "I knew you would." So I'm loath to go to the doctors to the hospital with another foot injury on my record because they're not the only ones. So I'm going to try. So I've just been a walking disaster, and I even broke another cup today, and that's the last of the 3 Denby ones my mother got me now. It's just terrible.
We're just going to buy you plastic knives and forks.
No, I refuse to lower my standards. I'll cope with the smashing.
We'll use your bamboo. We'll get your bamboo ones because they're quite cool now. You can't break
Have
them.
you had a red face?
Well, when I first arrived in Bootle, it was incidentally also the first time that my employer thought I was ready to take on some leadership responsibilities. So I was working with Sefton Council at the time, and there was a team, and if any of them now listens to transactional HR, it was called. So they were doing contracts for all the schools around Sefton and fabulous people. And the leadership team of that team were 3 ladies, Gemma, Helen, and Catherine. Yeah. And they were all slightly older than me, but not much. And lovely ladies. And I wanted to make the right impression. I'm a young man in my mid-20s, and I get that opportunity. So I'm being as professional as you can be. And I do this presentation for my first meeting with my supervisors and get them into the spirit. But I had forgotten that when you're online, and you have your Outlook on, that when an email comes in at the bottom right, it shows you a little sneak preview of the email that comes on. Yeah. So I'm doing my presentation, trying to woo them with my managerial skills, and I call it jazz hands. I jazz hands the out of them, and then suddenly, bing! This little things come and it says match.com, your matches today. And I was like, oh my God. I had, for the one and only time in my life, for a couple of months, signed up to online dating because I was new in Liverpool. I thought, come on, let's try. Wait, it was a disaster, by the way. Like, not a single woman that I met looked anywhere near like the photograph, or maybe they looked like that like 20 years ago. But I have to say, this little thing in front of my 3 lovely co-workers who I try to impress, it just I mean that really haunts me still today, you know. I met them along the way, like in different, you know, Liverpool is a village, so you bump into each other.
Did they all laugh?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was just they just found that beautiful, you know. It was
that would be the best thing.
Monumentally embarrassing, that was. Yeah. So I've
offered to try and help.
I just had to
and the more you try to delete the words,
shut it down.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
What about you, Hal?
No, I'm good this week. I think. Yeah,
no, not this week. Whenever.
Oh no, I do
dig
things
deep.
all the time.
Dig
No,
deep. Go
I
back.
I jump
Oh,
out
you
on
do
like
it every
people's
week,
car
you're
and
right,
everything
yeah.
like that.
We've
And,
been doing this for for ages.
2.5 years now.
2.5 years, the show. Do you know how many embarrassing moments we have?
No, I've got the feeling there might be quite a few with you
People
too,
only
yeah?
listen for Sandy's.
It's just, mine are shocking. I forget them. They're just dreadful.
Right,
Anyway.
we have come to an end. So I want to say a massive thank you to Peter for letting us come to Hotel Anfield, which is ace.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for letting me show everybody on your show and having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You've got to close the show, which I forgot to tell you, with a closing quote or a mantra or something that you live by that we can leave the people with. I know it's a bit of pressure.
I did WhatsApp. And what are you reading at the moment?
Oh, what are you reading at the moment? What are you reading at the moment? While we give Peter a
second.
give
I
me a second.
finished The Shoe Dog, which is the most motivational read. Talk about ups and downs in business. Philip Knight, who has set up Nike, absolute the best on Nike, the most amazing book ever. So thanks for recommending that. And then we had Cal and Claire on, didn't we, from Leading Ladies? Yeah. And Claire said she was reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving a
Monkeys.
So
I've read that.
So I went with that. And I think if you'd never read anything like that before, it would be inspiring. But I think it's just a bit superficial for me at the moment. So I haven't really enjoyed that, but I've listened to it on Audible. So I'm nearly at the end of that.
So you need to go to Shoemaker now. So I've just finished Shoemaker, which is the story of Reebok. And the story of Reebok and the story of Nike are virtually the same. It's phenomenal.
But one became like Nokia and the other one like Samsung.
Yeah. But it's amazing how their stories and they link and they know each other as they're going through.
Crazy,
because Reebok is from Bury, and it's just amazing. And Bolton, started in Bolton.
Hence the Reebok Stadium. I didn't know.
I know. So it started in Bolton and then they moved the factory to Bury.
That's amazing.
But when you read it. So the story that happened in the UK and the story that happened in America and their lives, both of the guys' lives are very similar, and it's amazing, it's fascinating. But I'm listening to Happy Sexy Millionaire by Steve Bartlett.
Oh, me fave.
Yeah, so I've nearly finished that, and I was listening to the High Performance podcast, and they recommended Think Fast and Slow, which has just arrived today.
Briefly about Steve Bartlett, though, you do realize that there's a bit of an unfolding story about how much money he actually received when he sold his share in this business, or what his business is actually worth, right? Yeah. But anyway, don't want to put a downer on it, but
no, it's more about, he talks about his ups and downs of how and things like that. He's very clever young man.
I'm sure he is.
Yeah.
I'm sure he is. Well, I have to confess, I don't really read much. I'm a bit more like I think if somebody sat down with me and tried to diagnose me with something, they might actually figure out that maybe I've got some sort of mild form of ADHD or something like that. My attention span for longer takes. So when you're on the Guardian website and you get like an article, it's a normal length, I can read that. But if it says the long read at the top, I'm like, no, skip that. Like
I listen to them on Audible.
I can do that. I can do that. But the reading bit is. But I read one book a while ago, and that's called Tipping Point from Malcolm Gladwell. That, and when you and that leads me to my kind of mantra, and it is on LinkedIn, but it is powerful. There's a gentleman who works in a car park down in the Rope Orcs called Sammy. And when I first came to Liverpool, I lived in the Crown Plaza for the first month searching for a flat.
And then you went to Boo.
And I went into I didn't live there, but it was special. Anyway, and there was a guy in the gym called Sammy. And he just sort of, we ended up chatting. And through Sammy, I ended up meeting some people. So who I met ended up living in the building where I then met an ex-Liverpool player, and then Emre Can, through who I then helped Emre buy his house in Formby, and now Pep Linders lives there. And it's like, and when you read Tipping Point, you realize that you can trace back where like a lot of where you are now to actually one person who is the connector, one person who kind of set you out on this route. And it doesn't mean that this route would have been worse, or that one might have, but that's not the point. The point is there's this one person, and they take the example of like the early settlers in the US, where a lot of people that went over to California can actually trace back to a couple of people on the East Coast who first started it all, who they and it's
Wow.
quite fascinating,
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
honest, you know. So I like that. It's
Yeah.
and that leads me to the mantra part, which is I think I've just needed to cheat and just quickly check what it actually says, but it says if you can connect people, you can create the future. And I think in Liverpool, of all places,
Yeah.
The saying is even more true, because there's places like London where I've spent some time, or in Germany, Munich, just that insular and cliquey, and they don't let you in. But in Liverpool, every door is open, and then when you walk through and you're treated with respect, it stays open. They are now part of your network, and then you can then go on, and eventually you go, oh, you know what, I know this guy, or I know this lady, and let me do this, and it just becomes this ever expanding network. But it all creates value for everyone involved, or at least it ought to be. So that's my passion about networking and bringing people together. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And what a lovely way to finish. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we will see everybody next week. And I'm going to end it. Are you clicking? Might have to do a Peter and just close the live.
We're still live.
We're still
Do I still
live.
have to smile?
Yeah.
Like
No,
it's a
it's all
photo?
right.
That's
Oh,
it?
hang on,
End the
no, we're not.
broadcast.
We're
There you
going to
go.
end it now.
Take care, everyone.